Welcome back, folks, and thank you for joining us for another soul-driven interview. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Ashley Burnett, a woman's business and leadership coach, dancer, retreat facilitator, and nature-based ritualist who is committed to helping change-making entrepreneurs clarify their vision, heighten their income and impact, cultivate queen confidence, and align their business with the cycles of nature for sustainable growth. Welcome to Soul Driven, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I'm so excited to have you. I was sharing with Ashley kind of before we started recording that just a little bit of background here. I found Ashley through Vanessa's podcast, Wildly Rooted. We've had her here on the podcast as well. I'm like not able to speak at the moment for some reason. But I started looking into Ashley and what she does. And I was joking with her, like, she is just living the life. She is doing it right. She's got all this land. She has these retreats. She's got like a beautiful son. They dance. She gets to like have take her baths outside. Like, she's just incredible. So I haven't even like talked about your business yet, but like you're just doing it right. So I'm so excited to have you here today. We've got so much to talk about. And but first, I want to ask you the same question I ask all of my guests. What makes you soul driven?
You know, I think it is just tapping into the depths of who we are and following our passion. For me, that is dance and nature connection, and remembering that I am part of nature and that I was, brought here at this time for a reason. I think for me, I feel most soul driven when I am following that passion. I'm not worried about what others are thinking about me. I am just following the fire within myself. I'm being a double fire sign. I got to follow that flame, right? So, I think for me, that's what it's about. If I'm feeling out of alignment, coming back to what that soul driven, element is, which is to follow the passion and to remember what truly lights me up and ignites my soul, which is dance, creative expression, movement, nature, connection, ritual, those kind of things. And remembering that we're a part of the whole of this experience of being on this earthly realm at this time. So
yeah, I love that. Do what?
I said, that's what I got for you.
Yeah, I think it's, I've talked about it on my podcast quite a bit lately. I think really coming into 2021, I've always been an outdoor person as well. Like, I love getting outside, instead of playing with Barbie dolls, I was like climbing trees and chasing snakes and being a wild child. But I lost that somewhere kind of in the midst of my journey. And man, has not only the importance of me getting outside become really important over the past couple of years, but just like my connection to, Mother Earth and to the planet, and just the importance of that. And like you said, how we are not only a part of it, like we are Earth, we are the trees, we are all of it, Yep. And I just think that, that's really beautiful. And that's certainly something that I see within you. So you're a double fire sign. Did you say double Aries?
No, I'm not a double Aries. I'm an Aries sun and a Sag moon. So, and then I'm a Taurus rising. So I've got that earth connection through that realm.
Lucky you.
There's a lot of fire. There's a lot of passion. So.
Well, and Taurus is definitely no like chill sign either.
Right.
But it does. So I'm a double Sag, sun and moon as well, and a Leo rising.
Oh yeah, you got all the fire.
my partner is like, he's got so much earth, and I'm like, how about I give you some of my fire and I'll take some of your earth? You know
I
what I
know.
mean?
Yeah. Well, that's why you're partnering. Yeah. Together.
Perhaps, perhaps. So one of the things, I mean, honestly, where I wanted to begin with you just kind of jumped all over the map, but um, you come from this long line of entrepreneurs. So I'd love to know a little bit more about that, your background and kind of what brought you into becoming one yourself.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So my mom ran a dance studio and ran her own, dance studio and company for many, many, many years. And basically that was the only way she knew, because her mom also was an entrepreneur. She was one of the first female optometrists in the Chicagoland area. Her husband died 2 days before her first child, my Aunt Georgia, was born, put her into labor. There she was as a single mother in the 40s, not knowing what to do. And of course, I didn't know any of this until much later. But she decided, okay, I'm going to put myself into school, reopen my late husband's practice, in a dominated, male driven field. And she did it, and she reopened the practice, and she was one of the first females to fit for contact lenses in the US. And so she was definitely a passion driven woman herself. And my Aunt Georgia also was a textile artist and ran her own business as well. So I just, come from this whole long lineage of entrepreneurial women. And honestly, I never considered doing it a different way. But of course, I didn't put all the pieces together until probably 5 years ago. And I realized, wow, okay, this is part of why I've been called on this path, right? So yeah, I started out as a dance artist myself. I majored in dance in college and danced professionally, and choreographed shows and produced shows in Chicago, and then also out here in San Francisco, and lived in San Francisco for 10 years. And as soon as I got to San Francisco, I was like, okay, I got to fund my dance career here. So I became a massage therapist and did that for 10 years as well, like kind of to help me, be able to make ends meet. But about 10 years ago, I got this call that I needed to do something different. And I thought it was to be a health coach. And so I got trained as a health coach, but very soon after, I got that certification, I was then asked by many people, like, how did you start your business? What did can you help me? And so it very organically shifted into this business and leadership coaching work that I'm doing now. And I think, part of it is just because that was my line, that was my lineage. And I've just been, called on this path. So I do, especially, we're recording this just a couple of days after Samhain and Day of the Dead and Halloween. So just kind of honoring my grandma Schweitzer and just her path and my ancestors around that. And it feels like a privilege to be doing what I'm doing, and just it's exciting. I get excited every day to do what I do. So stoked.
Hashtag winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've heard Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah. So one of the things that he said like years ago that I just really appreciated was he said, like, you don't become an entrepreneur for any other reason than like you can't be anything else. Like you wake up in the morning, it's like what you have to do.
Yep.
And I feel like, because being an entrepreneur is so hard, it's not easy. There's so many different things that you have to deal with. What was your path like in regards to like the past 10 years kind of leading up? Was it a pretty easy ride for you when you got out of school into diving into your own practice? Like, how did that go?
Yeah, well, to take you back even further, so as I was producing these dance shows, getting my massage certification, I started working in a spa for the first 3 years. And then I had this moment where I was presented with an opportunity to run my own practice out of a brand new yoga and Pilates studio in San Francisco. And I was like, cool, yeah, let's do this. And then the spa owner found out and gave me an ultimatum. She felt threatened by me and 2 others who were gonna start doing our practices out of this spa. Of course, we weren't making anywhere near what, we could sustain ourselves from the spa work. But she basically was like, you get to either work at the spa or start your own practice. And that was that moment, that leap of faith moment for me, where I was like scared out of my wits, but I knew I had been there for 3 years. I had never gotten a raise. They were charging, over $100 an hour. I was making $27 an hour for, doing body work. And I'm like, I'm done. Yeah, I believe in myself. And the other 2 friends of mine decided to stay at the spa, and I went for it. And, within about a month, I had, a month or 2, I had a full practice at that place. So that was kind of my first big leap. And I was scared, terrified, really. But it was so worth it to make that leap, right? And then I ended up getting that coaching training after that. And, there's been many moments after that came forward for me where I had to make those leaps again. And one of them was when I went full time from massage therapy into the coaching world, right? Because I did kind of grandmother into that, but there was that moment that it was like, all right, it's time to let my massage therapy practice just go and trust this process. But oh yeah, the first couple of years for me were very difficult. And very challenging. I tried to do everything myself. I didn't hire a coach. I didn't get any support. I was trying to coach myself, trying to build my own website, do all the things, admin things, all of that stuff, and, completely stalling and not moving forward. And I know we're going to talk about community and things like that later, but it was really when I did get myself into, a community and allowing myself to receive support that I was able to catapult my business forward. And it made it so much more easeful to do that when I was on the other side of the space holding and not trying to do everything myself, and getting myself, the help I needed as a budding entrepreneur, even though I had been, running my massage therapy practice for 10 years at that point, or, a version of being an entrepreneur. There was just this next level that I had to get to be able to get to where I wanted to be now, and so that's what I can say is like, support, community, don't try to do it all yourself.
Preach
Yeah.
it to the choir. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know, I'm just kind of curious for you, when you came to those places where you had to take this leap into the next thing, right? Let go of the safety net. Like, what did that feel like for you? How did you know it was the time?
Well, I mean, this is all about soul driven, right? And so again, it's coming back to this deep inner knowing and trusting my intuition, trusting my gut, right? There's a moment where we inherently know what the next step is. If we get quiet enough, if we tune in to ourselves and we pause and we breathe into that decision-making process, we know what the next step is, right? And so I think for me, it was intuition and just following that and trusting that I wouldn't have been given these opportunities for no good reason, right? Like, I didn't get that opportunity to open my practice at the Pad Studios for no good reason. I needed to follow that divine nudge to move to the next level, right? And similarly, I think the full release, I had gone down to like, maybe working on 2 or 3 clients that I had been working with long term. But when I moved out here, and that's a whole other story we can talk about, out here to this land out in Petaluma, California, which is out an hour north of San Francisco, where I lead my retreats and things like that. That was such a divine guidance moment. So I think it's really about trusting and trusting yourself, trusting the divine nudge you're getting, and taking the leap, believing in yourself enough and believing in source enough to make that leap forward. Right. And it's not easy, and it's still scary, and it's terrifying, but there's these moments of like deep, deep trust that come into the entrepreneurial path. And those were two big ones for me.
I love it. The other question that I had for you is, I'd love for you to kind of explain like why having a coach, was so helpful to you, like why it helped you catapult into the next phase of your business, to really kind of, I guess, bring things alive, if you will.
Yeah. So, I mean, as I mentioned, at the beginning, I tried to do it all myself, right? I got the coach training, and then I tried to go run my business myself without any long-term coaching support, and did everything in terms of booking and scheduling and marketing and building my own website and coaching myself. And it's kind of, ridiculous. Like, I think there's a level of solopreneurism that then we feel like we have to hold all of it. And the truth is that we absolutely have to have a support squad in place if we want to expand and reach that next level, right? And so I think because I didn't have that coach or support network at that time, I felt like I felt completely isolated. And I also felt like I was on a hamster wheel and getting nowhere in terms of that growth and expansion, right? So when I finally got that memo that I needed to hire a coach and be, a part of a community, that's when I felt this sense of belonging, like I was around other entrepreneurial folks doing the same, similar things as me. So I felt like, wow, I have community. And I also, allowed for myself to be on the other side of holding space. So I think that's one thing to think about if you're an entrepreneur, that, you don't have to hold, or a space holder or facilitator, you don't have to hold everything yourself, right? It's okay to allow for yourself to receive support. And I think it's imperative that we give ourselves permission to do that, so that we can fill our cups, that we can feel that sense of held and support, and that we can bring that sense of, okay, I have this, I'm being held, to our communities too, right? They feel that. If we're trying to do everything ourselves, and for me, it was a struggle because there was some control freak stuff that was coming into that, right? And the fear of letting go. And that goes for both, hiring my first business coaches, or being a part of a mastermind program, and or hiring team for the first time, right? But as soon as I did those things, like both hired team and coaches, I ended up doubling, then tripling. Then, I've probably at this point, to 5x where I was at that point, right? So at that moment of making that, starting my coaching practice, right, in terms of income. So, I just think it's really important to give ourselves permission to make investments in our businesses, and know, we can't expect to start up a business without making investments to learn how to grow that business, right? And in a way that feels really supportive and good and grounded and aligned for us. So I hope that makes sense. But
No, absolutely. The thing is, in my work with clients, and even within myself, my own business, it's always been so peculiar to me that when I'm working with an entrepreneur, you know, and then my marketing agency, they would always like kind of apologize that they weren't good enough at this to handle it themselves. And it's
Right.
like,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
your strengths are elsewhere. Okay.
Exactly.
You get to focus on what you love, and I'm going to do this because I'm good at this, right? How exciting is that? You know, to free you up so that you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, Facebook, or you know what I mean, or emails or whatever. You get to just do your thing, because the majority of people that I work with, you know, they're creatives, and that's such a wide ranging thing for me because I feel like we're all creative. But you know, and that's just not their thing. They're not thinking about marketing. They're not comfortable with selling themselves, you know, da 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 da. And
Yeah.
I think that's such a powerful move for people to make.
Yeah. I there's something I talk about, and I actually do have a free workbook. Um, I think it's called Owning Your Unique Uninhibited Queen Brilliance, right? And so, and if you want to find that workbook, you can go to ashleyburnett.co/workbook and download that. But that this workbook is all about uncovering your unique strengths and challenges, you know, past life challenges, and you know, your unique, what I call your queen superpowers, and these things that, you know, really make you who you are and light you up and bring you joy, and focusing on those things and weaving those into the business, and also kind of centering what you do in your business from that space, from that place of like, you know, Gay Hendricks wrote a book called The Zone of Genius, or sorry, The Big Leap, which he talks about, you know, these different zones of genius, excellence, competence, and incompetence, and really wanting to, you know, kind of get our businesses centered around that zone of genius, that place that it feels like we're not working. It feels like time doesn't exist. It feels like it doesn't feel like work, right? And making sure that we're getting our businesses set up to focus mostly there. The actions that we're doing in our business is to focus mostly there, and then delegate out for those other pieces, right? And hire team for those other pieces, and making sure that team has got the strengths that they've got, right? And getting the right people in place for that. I mean, obviously start small, start with just a basic admin assistant or personal assistant or something like that. And then expand, but eventually you want to get to a place where you've got someone who's really strong at, you know, client care in that role, and someone who's really strong at managing the entire business operation in that role, and someone who's really great at admin and behind the scenes stuff in that role. Um, and similarly, that you're clear, like, these are what my strengths. I don't have to do every single thing in this business. And there, I think for a long time for myself too, and I'll just say, there was a level of proving, like feeling like I had to prove that I could do all these things. And it's not, um, you know, when we start to release some of that ego and really tap into our the depths of who we are, the, you know, the aligned um strengths that we have within us, then we can really, you know, focus on those things, let those pieces shine in the business, and then release, you know, some of these other things so that it can feel a little bit more collaborative too, and bring in guests that can, you know, kind of pick up the pieces where maybe you're not as proficient in, right? So it's been an incredible process, and I'm still in process of all of that. But the more that we can focus on bringing creating a collaborative, this is a collaborative effort, the more that we feel like, you know, supported and less alone on the journey too.
Yeah, very important. Very, very important. And also, I think very freeing, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
People can have virtual assistants these days, you know, they don't even need like a full on assistant. So, in becoming a women's business and leadership coach, like, well, first of all, I guess, like, if you can explain, define that for us, what it is. But then also, I'm curious to know, like, why you felt led to work with women specifically.
Yeah, so I'm in terms of business and leadership. So I work a lot with, you know, supporting. women entrepreneurs with expanding their life's work. I love retreats. I love group programming, and I do still offer private programming as well. But one of the things I excel at is supporting my community in expanding their soul's work through leading experiential retreats, group programs, workshop series, events, things like that to expand their reach, their income, and their impact. And so there's a lot of focus around that. We also, in my longer term program, the Uninhibited Mastermind, we look at, expanding team. We look at, really getting clear on, firstly, what you stand for, your thoughts, philosophies, and ideas as a thought leader, and really tuning into, again, what it is that you believe, what you stand for, and weaving all of that, your mission, your why, into the work that you're doing. And once we, uncover that whole process, there's a deeper level of belief in yourself, right? So it's kind of uncovering, quote unquote, your thought leadership and what you really believe, so that you're clear and you can articulate that with clarity. And that ground and foundation really kind of comes through the whole branding and every program that you're putting out there, right? And then we also, so we're not just looking at marketing. We do look at that as well, and how to, expand our reach and all of those pieces. But then we're also looking at our relationship to money, our relationship to ourselves, and our thoughts and beliefs, and rewiring those thoughts and beliefs so that we can really move forward with queen confidence. And that's one of the bigger pieces that, I think embodied confidence, a deeper level of embodied confidence and embodied leadership really comes into the work. So I think that, there are these outer level pieces that we look at of, getting our missions forward, getting, expanding our work and visibility and those kind of things. But then there are these inner level pieces around our thoughts and our beliefs and, our self-worth that we're uncovering, and all the work that we're doing as well. So it becomes this really, really holistic experience. And then the other thing that I do is, and I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but work a lot with cycling our businesses as holistic and creative entrepreneurs, and these, nature, pieces of, bits of nature that we are, with the cycles and seasons of the natural world for long-term sustainable leadership. So I'll go on a tangent later if you want to on that, but that's one of the things that most lights me up and gets me super jazzed to work with my community with.
Yeah, this is something I just heard you talk about pretty recently, and I was like, oh, that feels good. That's I loved how you talked about, taking time off during slow periods through the year, launching things, through high energy periods of the year. Definitely, you should share more with us.
Yeah. Well, before I do that, I'll just say, in terms of women, I just, again, I'll bring it back to the lineage. I just think that there's been a part, just my whole matriarchal line is, it's strong. And so I think there's a level of, that's why I've been led to lead, self-identified women and gender nonconforming folks, mostly through this work. And I think there's a level of when we can be supported in a group and container of self-identified women, that we feel, there's a deeper sense of letting down our guard. And just the work that we do, I think it needs to be in that kind of context. Now, at the Gathering Ground, which is my retreat space, we also have all sorts of other offerings and things like that for everyone, right? So there's, but I think in terms of these longer term programs that I hold space for, that's where I've been most called to lead. and who I've been most called to support.
Yeah.
Now, and anything you want to share before I move on to the
No. Go ahead. Go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of the, over the last couple of years, so I think about 5 years ago, maybe, I was trained by Joanna Lindenbaum, who does a lot of ritual work. So I was trained in kind of ritual and ceremony and weaving that into my practice, and that really started to open me up to. I had always identified as a nature girl, similarly to you, and I started to really kind of pay attention more to the seasons and cycles through doing that work. I started to learn about the wheel of the year, which is this ancient annual cycle of these festivals of the sun, which we all know as the solstices and equinoxes, but then also in the Celtic tradition, there's these cross-quarter festivals of Imbolc, Imbolc, Beltane, Lammas, and Samhain, and these are the exact halfway points between the spring equinox and the summer solstice, right, or whatever season we're going into. And when I started to really work with that wheel and work with the cycles, I started to feel a deeper sense of just like connection to the whole in general, and a deeper sense of myself. But then when I started to really work with it within my business model, that's when everything really radically shifted. And I started to realize, okay, wait a minute, I'm part of nature. And if my energy is going out of alignment with what's happening in the natural world, how can I even begin to think that I can sustain, this energy long term, right? And this goes with, like, all the actions we're doing. Like, if we really buy into the holiday hype, right, and we are staying up super late on our iPhones in the dead of winter, we're not going to reap the benefits of that winter season, which is all about restoration and hibernation and taking the most nutrients out of the earth at that time. And similarly, the business needs to rest too, right? And so for me, what I've chosen to do is take a full month off in December, and a full month off in July, kind of, summer break, winter break, and then also a week in the spring and fall to make sure that I am cycling this stuff up with nature. And then we do launches mostly in spring and fall, when the energy is still, high or big, before we've like fully gone into that kind of, check out or check in kind of phase. So it's been huge. And, I support my clients a lot with kind of creating their what I call their ideal seasonal schedules, and doing that quarterly, so that we are making sure that we are creating these really beautiful, containers for ourselves to do our work in, that links up with the particular season. And then also kind of creating our launches to cycle up with nature as well. So it's been huge. I think that's one of the things that I hear. I mean, the women get so much out of from working in the mastermind and or privately with me. And it's like, let's go back to Mediterranean style here. Like, like we don't need to have 2 weeks of vacation only a year, right? Like, it's not sustainable. So, and then also, like, as women, right, so I see this as more of a feminine focused business model, and one that, I'm a newish mom. Like, I have a toddler that's just a little over 2. I've created this business now to work 25 hours a week so that I can have more time to spend with him, more time for, a little more time for self-care, and make sure that I can really again, sustain my energy for both my business and my family, right? And my personal life. So yeah, it's exciting. It's a work in progress. It's always a work in progress, but I think the more that we can align with nature, the more that we can be in a state of flow in our businesses and in our lives.
So, and that was kind of my next question, which you pretty much just answered, but I want to just kind of clarify. So it doesn't matter like what you're doing, like what industry you're from, what culture, and anything like that. Like you're finding with all of your clients that just following, the seasons like is working for everyone equally.
Absolutely. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. It's like so at this time of year, this is a great time to consider, um, what I like to, I like to tell people to arm themselves with their restorative hibernation toolkit at this time of year. Right. And so, and I don't know if you've heard of the Danish concept, hygge, but it's basically about creating a sense of joy and coziness in your environment at this time of year, of course, because over there it's freezing cold for a lot of the year, right? So, how can you bring a sense of joy and coziness into your environment to make you want to just lean into this season and get the most out of it, right? Reap the benefits. And so anyone can do that. Anyone can bring in, more cozy blankets and soups and teas and, create more space for baking. And I think a lot of us inherently do this. But then there's also and things like setting boundaries. Like you can't see it over there, but I've got one of those old-timey lanterns. And a lot of times what I'll do is by like 9 o'clock, try in the winter months, try to only use or by a certain time, try to only use candlelight, or as I'm reading to Quentin and just using that, right? Setting boundaries, like taking screens past no screens past 10 o'clock, or some of you are in bed by then. I'm a bit of a night owl, so I have to really kind of work on this piece for myself. But another thing is like unplugging your Wi-Fi at night and getting your phone out of your room so that you're not tempted to, go to that, and you really can create space. Anna, I know for you, you have taken social media detoxes. That's one of the things that I really appreciate that I do during those, longer periods off, is I take a full on social media detox. I may even email like group text threads, or like if I'm a part of a Marco Polo group or something like that, I might say, hey, I love y'all. I'm going to bounce for 4 weeks because I want to just really honor this time of restoration for myself and have less, less things that I'm being called to do. I mean, if you think about it, the amount of distractions, the amount of things that we're in noise and things we're being asked to do right now, I mean, is just
it's out of control. It's completely out of control.
And so, and we just participate because it's been designed. It's so easy for us to participate. I mean, I'm saying we participate because I participate all the time in this, right? And
well, we've trained everyone else around us to know that we're participating, so if we're not answering a text right away, it's like, what's wrong? Are you mad at me? Did I do something? And it's like, I'm just trying to get space.
This is about setting boundaries, right? And some of these boundaries can come in, can continue to stay after after you're complete, right? Like or like you're complete with that winter time, they can maybe stay. Like for instance, we offer email support for our clients, but we only offer email support Tuesday through Thursday, right? And we during the time that I take off, I'm not available for email support, and I'm not checking my email, and I have that autoresponder on, right? And so I don't have to participate in that noise during that time. It's just about clearly communicating and clearly getting clear about what you want. and you get to create that kind of environment for yourself. So, I do really invite you as we move into winter, see what kind of boundaries that you need to create. How can you kind of arm yourself with your self hibernation toolkit of sorts, even if you don't run a business. But if you do run a business, then how can you, kind of tuck things in? How can you tuck things in or kind of get the support you need or clearly communicate when you're taking time off so that you can reap the full benefits of this season?
It's something that's I've really been falling into intuitively this year, which hasn't ever happened before. I think so similar to Vanessa, I read the Akashic Records and I do like a monthly reading for the podcast. And they've just really been getting intense about what is coming and really like tuning in, putting boundaries in place, turning things off, being really particular about what you digest, of course, not just food. What are you reading? Where are you spending your time? What you're doing with your energy. And by the time this Mercury retrograde hit, it was like, it's time for me to start shutting down. And I've been feeling that not just, and the social media like detox for me is just, yeah. I'm wanting to invest in my creativity, and you can't do that with all the channels coming in. I'm wanting to clear out those distractions, just period. But like even with my exercise, my body movement, like my body is just like not doing that HIIT routine, girl. Like, let's do some yoga or bar or go for a walk outside. It's just like looking at, the HIIT or the weights like, I'm not here for it. It's like, I can feel it starting to like moving into winter. It's like, okay, starting to chill out. And I'm thankful for that this year because I want to honor those rhythms a lot more. So when I heard you talking about it, like in regards to your business as well, I was like, yes, this is good. I can definitely see the power there. So I want to talk a little bit because you mentioned this, and I just kind of want to touch on it again, the queen confidence, because this is like a large component of your coaching methods. So if you could share with us kind of what that means and why it's so important.
Yeah. Well, I work a lot with the archetype of what I call the uninhibited queen. And, this is something that I think that the queen, it's interesting, right? So if you see most tarot decks, they cover maiden, mother, and crone, right? Now, if we're looking at the wheel of the year and we're looking at a woman's life and cycling that up with the wheel of the year. So let's say winter solstice, right? Spring equinox, summer solstice, fall equinox, winter solstice, right? We have maiden at spring equinox. We have mother at summer solstice, and then we have crone at winter. The queen has been left out of the deck. All right. The queen is the woman at the time of year that's going through menopause, where she actually can tune into like the depths and truth and fullness of who she is. And the queen's been left out of the deck. We're like not taught, there's not enough resources for menopause in general. And there's just not enough, focus on this idea of queen, and
is there like an age that you can associate with this?
Well, yeah, again, if you're going through menopause, you're probably around, late 40s, early 50s, something around that time, into your, like between your, let's say mid 40s to mid 60s or something like that kind of, time frame. And yet we can play with that energy at any time. We can play with the energy of the queen at any time. And so in the work that we do here, I play a lot with that energy, and we kind of look at adopting different mindsets that I've uncovered. And again, if you want another resource, ashleyburnett.co/ queen ebook, I think it is another, document that, or an ebook that I created called the 11 core confidence boosting mindsets of an uninhibited business queen. But honestly, you don't have to be a business queen to work with these mindsets. But they're things like, she knows, an uninhibited queen knows what she stands for and lives by her mission and big why in life. So you can know what you stand for, even if you're not an entrepreneur, right? But how many times do we look at that? How many times do we look at, what do I stand for? What are my, what's my why for doing what I do in my life, or for doing what I do in my business, right? Another one would be, she fully owns her value and embraces all of her unique brilliance. So kind of talking about what I was talking about earlier, honoring our unique set of skills and strengths and life experience and talents and challenges and everything that makes us up who we are. Things like, daring to take up her fullness and playing full out without questioning herself to do so, right? Knowing that, when she shines her light, she's not taking away anything from anyone else, but rather she's getting her community like super jazzed to play big as well, right? And also, this comes with, not feeling the need to shrink our bodies, right? Like we get to take up the fullness of who we are. So, things like these that we, weave into all of the programming that we do here, releasing the myth of perfectionism and understanding that perfection doesn't actually exist in the universe. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So we can just let that one go. Coming from a place of gratitude and abundance versus, kind of a place of lack, which is something we have to really constantly work on. And obviously, prioritization around self-care and so many other things, right? So we play a lot with this archetype, and at the retreats that we do in person here on this land in Petaluma, we're getting that crown on. We're like embodying her, we're adorning ourselves and stepping into that role. And I mean, I cannot even tell you the energetic shift that I see in these women when they're playing with, that archetype specifically. So it's really powerful and it's fun, and it's a way to bring in, something into this business that just, that we get to have fun with, but we also like really get to embody and empower, kind of our fullness too. So yeah, I have a lot of fun playing with the queen.
Well, I just think there's so many empowering elements to it, especially for women. Even if you just took the part about not like thinning out our body, or realizing that there's space for my queen and her queen and your queen and this queen, you know what I mean? Things that we aren't taught as young women, unfortunately. And it's very freeing and liberating, I think, as women to start stepping into that energy.
Totally.
So I know that community is just an enormous part of what you do. And I think, community is the future. It is the present. It is the past. It's something that I think here in the US, we have lost focus of, being in such an independent culture. And I'm so thankful for people such as yourself who are really placing so much emphasis around community. I know that it's something very important to me. You and I've, briefly spoken about this before. Like, this is also my future. I love community. And, but I would just like to, Why community for you? What's so powerful about it for yourself?
Yeah. I think that we have lost that we've we've kind of we've lost it, right? And community was the backbone of many um, ancient societal systems and of our ancestors. Um, and working together in community ultimately created less and more easeful and joyful work for all members of the tribe, right? Um, and in our modern age, we have never been more connected digitally, but in many ways, we feel more isolated than ever before. And so, this is about allowing ourselves to be held and guided and supported, as also, in addition to that, bringing our magic to a particular circle or community. And through that process, we release feelings of isolation and separation and experience this kind of deep kind of soul healing that can really only be created through and magic that can be created through a supportive community, um and so I feel very strongly that this is the way of the future. We need to kind of come back to allowing ourselves to be held in this way and participate in circles. And even if it's like I just haven't witnessed more like deeper senses of transformation in folks than I have while witnessing them in these circles, at these retreats. Like the understandings and ahas and revelations that come a lot of times are because they're witnessing someone else speaking, one of their peers speaking and sharing, and they're hit with that, sense of deep understanding. And a lot of collaborations come from that place. A lot of insights and knowing and inspiration comes from that space of community. If we're constantly working by yourself, that's the only thing that we have is our brain and the paper or the computer. I mean, how freaking isolating that is. And it's hard to find inspiration from that, right? So the more that we can get ourselves into an aligned and supportive community, the more that I think that we can move together, and we can create a larger ripple effect, through these a larger positive ripple effect through these circles. I mean, I could go on and on and on for days about community, but those are some of the things that are coming to me to share.
Yeah. No, I think it's hugely important right now. I think kind of right now more than ever, at least in the modern age. Because like you said, our technology supposedly gets us close to people, but it just really doesn't. You don't see, like, especially blows my mind. I have some friends who have like young teenage kids, and they'll like be at a party and they're literally all on their cell phones.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, well, what happened to hanging out and talking to each other? And you know what I mean? Like, I even have to yell at my dad when I see him. I'm like, put that away. Like, come on. I don't get to see you enough. Like any kind of, we need that, um, we need that personal touch, but not just in our like everyday lives. And I mean, that's always been the number one advice I've given to anyone who became a new entrepreneur is to find a community, because you need to know that you're not alone. You need to know that you're not insane. You need to know that you're not the only one going through something. You know what I mean? Just those things in and of themselves can be make or break it for an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays for anyone, for sure. So I want to just touch on something kind of before we jump into the lightning round. So you are getting, I think right now, or you're opening the Uninhibited Mastermind. So tell us about that, and yeah, just tell us about the program, how people could join, all of the things.
Yeah, so the Uninhibited Mastermind, it begins in late January of 2022, and it is a holistic 6-month business and leadership coaching experience that, again, focuses on fusing kind of action-oriented business building, which we need. We need you to take action, right? But we also want to merge that with pleasure-based, seasonally focused business model, so that we have this really beautiful sense of balance and sustainability and sustainable growth and expansion. And so this is for an intimate group of ambitious and compassionate entrepreneurial women and self-identified women and gender non-conforming folks who desire to really kind of heighten their financial awareness and abundance, their leadership, their visibility, their confidence, their spiritual growth, and obviously the expansion of their heart-centered businesses. And again, doing that when they have kind of a sense of ease, balance, and flow in their lives. And so, we look at, if you're someone who's ready to just take your work to the next level and scale to 6 figures or multiple 6 figures or beyond, and you may not even want to scale to 6 figures, and that's fine. Getting to wherever it is that you want to go, working on money mindset, making sure that we're marketing from a place of authentic service, launching our offerings up with the seasons and cycles of nature, building out your supportive queen dream team. We also kind of work on building our TED style talk and delivering that with confidence. And even if you're not, planning to do a TED style talk or TED talk, that, it'll come into all your marketing materials and so much more clarity about how to articulate your work and what you do will come through that experience. And we weave so much, self-care, earth-based ritual, and just, so much fun throughout this process. It's really an incredible experience. So if you are feeling, I'm not going to get into all the things, but if you're feeling curious about it, I just invite you to go to ashleyburnett.co/mastermind. And it will kind of lay out the flow and rhythm of the whole 6-month experience. We do 2 3-day in-person retreats here on the land. I'm out on 22 acres in Sonoma County. It's really beautiful. And we know how to completely create a hybrid experience where we weave in our virtual community we've had to do that over the last couple of years, right? Like we've had women from all over the country and world participate in these programs and fly into all these retreats. Most of them would fly in for both. In this last year, like there was a half and half, right? Half were attending virtual, half were attending in person. And it worked really beautifully. Like we've got the team, kind of down so that, folks can come to and participate in that retreat from wherever. And there's so much goodness in this mastermind. And then I also work privately with clients and I'm taking folks into a 6-month private coaching experience too. Just work with a very small handful of private clients. But you can still go to that mastermind page, ashleyburnett.co/mastermind. Click on the link to book a activation session just to explore together, and you'll get more clarity around if this feels in alignment for you or not. And I have no attachment to outcome. It's just an opportunity to see what's next for you and your business and your leadership in 2022. So I'd be honored to, connect with you on a deeper level. And Yeah, I'm super stoked. So thanks for
And
letting me know about that.
of course, of course. And your registration dates are?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. So we start, the program starts January 19th, 2022. But enrollment, so I'm in the middle of a program right now, Unleash Your Impact, that has, these folks are going to get invited into it first. And so there's a lot of people in that program who are definitely an aligned fit. So it could fill up. So I just, whenever you're hearing about this, if this is like speaking to you, I would definitely invite you to just jump in and, get yourself on the books. Plus I sign off on December 3rd. And I won't be doing any enrollment conversations in December at all. And then I come in at, January 5th or whatever it is. And maybe a couple stragglers could come in at that time, but really the enrollment period is, now through the end of November.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks for letting me speak about that. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's go into some lightning.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Lightning round, quick answers. I won't say a word. All right. Number 1, what is the one habit that you can't live without?
Dancing.
Okay. Number 2, what does spirituality mean for you?
Deep connection with nature and myself.
What is your advice to anyone who's looking to find purpose?
Hire a coach and get some guidance, and simplify. Hire a coach, get guidance. Don't try to do it all yourself. Pause, breathe, quiet, simplify.
All right. And then finally, where's your favorite place online to connect with people?
Oh, ashleyburnett.co / that's it. No, ashleyburnett.co. Yeah, I mean, definitely / blog, sign up for the blog. And to be honest with you, it's other than that, I'm not sure, because I'm working on the social media boundaries and what that looks like. So I think for me, it's more about, I would love to invite you to be a part of my community and connect with you there.
Awesome. Okay. And they can sign up for your email list from your website. So
yeah, like that Queen ebook, I think, is straight on that. Like I said, Queen ebook, I'm pretty sure is the
we'll
URL
have links to everything
for that.
Sure.
But if you go to the website, you'll see, the place to sign right up for that ebook and the newsletter there. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. All right, Miss Ashley. Well, it was so wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for sharing your time. I know it's not easy with a business and a toddler.
And a little toddle going around everywhere. Yeah, but I appreciate you so much for having me, Anna. Thanks so much. And everyone for tuning in. I appreciate you all and just wish you the most restorative winter season possible. So I hope you've enjoyed this conversation today and sending lots of love your way.
Yay! All right, folks, if you were inspired by today's interview, make sure to share it with a friend. Leave a review on iTunes and subscribe. Be sure to join the email list for podcast updates, helpful resources, and don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next week.